In 2014, the Islamic State burst onto the world's.
North Korea confirmed its latest missile launches on Friday as leader Kim Jong-un toured a factory producing a, quote, major weapons system. That's according to state media agency KCNA, who said a long-range cruise missile system update and tactical guided missile warhead were tested earlier this week. They marked 6 weapons tests so far this month, a flurry of activity that appears to be one of the busiest months ever for North Korea's missile program. The launches displayed a wide variety of weapons types and increasing sophistication. Kim did not attend this week's tests, according to a separate dispatch, but applauded the major weapons progress in his visit to the munitions factory. The launches triggered international condemnation and renewed calls for sanctions from the United States. Last week, North Korea said it would boost its defenses against the U.S. and hinted at lifting a self-declared ban on testing nuclear bombs and intercontinental ballistic missiles. None of those missiles or nuclear weapons have been tested in North Korea since 2017. But it kicked off a string of short-range ballistic missile launches as denuclearization talks with Washington stalled following a failed summit in Vietnam in 2018. Pyongyang has defended its missile launches as self-defense and accused the U.S. and South Korea of double standards.
Oh, there you go. You got North Korea.
China reportedly urging the U.S. to cave to Russia's demands for a NATO rollback. As tensions over the Ukrainian border continue to grow. KT McFarland served as Deputy National Security Advisor under President Trump. She joins us now to react. KT, so great to see you on a Sunday morning. Thanks so much for being here. And congrats on your book. We'll mention that at the end for sure. It's called Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. But what's happening in Ukraine, is it, and the fact that the Chinese are now backing the Russians, is this, have we pushed them into the same camp together, or at least how things have developed, or is this revealing an alliance that has been developing over time?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. You know, with the Russiagate, the faux Russiagate investigation of President Trump, it really pushed the Russians away from the United States, making no possibility of any kind of working together on any issue. And pushed Russia in the hands of open arms of China, which wants Russia's natural resources, their oil and natural gas. So the alliance was going to happen anyway, but because I think of our actions in the Trump years, we pushed them into it. And now they're working, you know, they're now totally in cahoots with each other. China is supporting Russia over Ukraine in anticipation that Russia will turn out to support China when it goes after Taiwan, which I think will happen this year, in the next year.
Interesting. Let's get to that next topic, because the Chinese ambassador to the U.S. was on National Public Radio on Friday and had this to say about the status of Taiwan. Take a listen.
The Taiwan issue has fixed the tinderbox between China and the United States. If the Taiwanese authorities involved in the United States keep going down the road for independence, they most likely involve China and the United States in military conflict.
You know, they almost couldn't mirror themselves more closely. You've got Ukraine, which wants more independence. Russia wants to use this as an opportunity to bring it back under the fold. Taiwan, same deal. Will one signal to the other what the United States will do, or are they different circumstances?
Well, right now, I think China is sort of sitting back, eating the popcorn, watching a movie. You know, what will Putin do with Ukraine? What will Putin get out of NATO? Will he be able to fracture NATO? Will he be able to use Russian energy exports to Europe, particularly to Germany, to peel them off? You know, if they don't support NATO, what happens next? If Putin gets what he wants with NATO, does he maybe make a move on the Baltic states, which are NATO members, unlike Ukraine, which is not? I think the Chinese are looking at this and saying,
I tell you, here's the thing with Russia. Look back 2014, Crimea. Look at Biden. He was in office. Russia takes Crimea. He sees, Putin sees weakness.
The Chinese leaders all came to the United States and they said,
hey,
we want Taiwan. It's a non-negotiable part of our relationship. Taiwan is historically China, and we are going to get it one way or another, and don't you dare stand in our way.
Whatever's going on in and around your area.
So interesting.
It could be good news,
it
bad
appears that
news,
Vladimir Putin feels the same
whatever's
way
on your mind.
about the former satellite countries of the USSR. And what we do now will say a lot about how they act in the future, especially after the Olympics. You know all of this. By the way, again, congrats on the book, KT, Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. So great to have you on this Sunday morning. Thanks, KT.
Pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
At OfferPad, our mission is to
fucking
provide the best way to
OfferPad.
buy and sell a home. Just go to OfferPad.com, tell us about...
What else is going on worldwide? There we go.
Breaking this morning, an ICE agent weighing in on the massive migrant drops we've seen at the southern border. And the details are stunning.
So Team Fox coverage, Jason
tell
Chaffetz
you
has
that-
reaction in a
go-
moment, but we begin.
Speaking of immigration, etc., that goes back to the founding fathers and the Constitution. The biggest part about the Declaration of Independence is how they focused on humanity, and we never forget that. And that's the whole purpose of being an American, is worldwide humanitarian.
Government chartered flight lands at the airport there. Local police officer shows up and sees illegal immigrants getting off the aircraft, and he starts asking questions. Take a listen.
You trying to figure out what this is?
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
You know, you're on a secure facility
Oh,
here.
this is
and
ISIS
we
up
don't
in,
really know anything, and we're in charge of security.
Up north.
So that's hence where we're having a problem here.
ISIS didn't know that they were being recorded, I guess.
Yeah.
Or ISIS, whatever. ISIS.
I don't know anybody.
Immigration control, whatever you call it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, with Westchester. This is like,
And very
fuck,
easily,
what time is
you know,
that?
people could just
Oh, you
go
can't see the
that
time.
way.
Early in the morning.
So I'm here to see. Oh yeah. I mean, it's slowly coming together, but we also don't know, you know, really what's happening, how they're getting here, whatever else.
You don't want to be somewhere where the spotlight is.
Yeah.
You want to try to keep it as down low as possible. A lot of this is just.
No, I get it. I just, like I said,
Yeah. Super shady. Super crooked.
What we want to do is attract attention. We don't want the media.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even know where we're going when they tell us.
Yeah, so they leave Texas.
Meanwhile, we have been
not
witnessing
knowing.
our own mass releases of illegal immigrants here in the RGV this week. This is video we shot yesterday in Brownsville, where we
there's a
saw
difference.
well over 50 single adult.
There's a difference in being a humanitarian and providing shelter. It's another in just deceiving, right? That's unacceptable.
Many of those men had ankle monitors on. Several of them were hiding their faces from our cameras. An ICE agent came forward to me who's been involved in mass releases and told me this has been discreetly going on since last spring. He told me that ICE has been releasing migrants with misdemeanor criminal records, including assault, DUI, drug possession, and illegal reentry. I reached out to ICE about that this morning. They did not deny
All
it.
right,
They told
we're all good on that. What else do we got going on? Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's some pretty good world news.
There are two types of lizard or reptilian kind of being.
Welcome back to State of the Union. The nation's top health official is cautiously optimistic about the direction of the pandemic as Omicron starts to peak in areas across the U.S. Now, many Americans are starting to recalibrate again and ask how they can safely live their lives. But how and when should states roll back restrictions? In some places, it's become a very heated debate. Joining me now is New Hampshire Republican Governor Chris Sununu. Thank you so much. It's nice to be here, I should say, since we're talking about COVID especially. We both tested negative before coming on. But let's talk about Omicron and specifically in your state of New Hampshire. The vaccination and booster rates have plateaued there. COVID misinformation is everywhere. We have it from RFK Jr., we have it from people like Joe Rogan, from Fox News. Is misinformation costing your constituents' lives?
No, I think misinformation is just creating massive confusion. So I don't want to say it's costing lives, but one of the roles I have in terms of the leadership position is always trying to clarify. We've had a lot of confusing messages out of the CDC, and we try to clarify them. We have a lot of misinformation that comes on social media, or even sometimes the mainstream media. And again, we try to clarify. Be super transparent. That brings public trust, and I think that's why New Hampshire has had a fairly high vaccination rate, even without mandates and whatnot. So it's frustrating, but you just have to keep kind of corralling everybody where it needs to be in terms of here's the A, B's, and C's. If you have questions, talk to your doctor. But you bring up a good point. Vaccination rates across the country have really plateaued. I think Omicron is less severe than everyone thought it was, which is a very good thing. But it does allow for a little more complacency. We can't be complacent.
And to be fair, the CDC might have fumbled some of its messaging, but it's not deliberately putting misinformation out there. Yeah, and so,
I wouldn't say
but there are people who I mentioned who are. Do you think companies like Spotify should make a concerted effort to stop people like that from spreading misinformation on their platforms?
No, look, it's a tube of toothpaste. You can say, well, we're going to stop, people that we disagree with, or there's misinformation. We think there's misinformation here. We're going to stop this over here. It's free speech, right? People can have a right to their voice and have a right to their opinion, and that's fine. That's why I think from a leadership position, you have to be crystal clear. I would never say the CDC intentionally misled anyone. Of course not. But there has been, well, we think this, we're going to do this. Why are we going to 5-day isolation quarantine and not 10-day? And it took weeks to figure that one out. Things with monoclonal antibodies, the ones that work for Delta aren't necessarily the antivirals you want to be working with Omicron. When can those become available? Do you have information to the doctor? So always trying to corral from a leadership position.
I think I'm done with fucking COVID. There we go. One day it goes.
What will you design today? A big idea? A new opportunity? An inspired community? With Canva, you can. Start designing for free at canva.com.
And you've been watching a press briefing there at the Pentagon. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Mark Milley, updating the American public there on the tensions there between Ukraine and Russia. You heard the defense secretary there say that Vladimir Putin has the capability to enter Ukraine, but he will not predict the decisions Putin will make. He said that disinformation campaign there by Russia is straight out of the Russian playbook. Also saying any Russian attack or incursion into Ukraine will ignite conflict, and says that conflict is not inevitable, believes there is still time and space for diplomacy there. And you heard Mark Milley there with a very strong statement saying, we strongly urge Russia to stand down. I want to bring in here.
All right, he's urging. There you go. That's what you need. There's a lawsuit. Let's see what's going on with this lawsuit.
This morning, the company that provided the guns and ammunition to Alec Baldwin's film Rust before that deadly shooting in October is firing back against a lawsuit from the movie's armorer, Hannah Gutierrez Reed. She was in charge of the weapons on the set. In her lawsuit filed last week, Gutierrez Reed claimed Seth Kenney and his company, PDQ Arm & Prop, sold, distributed, and advertised its props as dummy ammunition and not live rounds, saying Gutierrez Reed relied upon and trusted that defendants would only supply dummy prop ammunition or blanks, and no live rounds were ever to be on set.
Everyone's going to be deflecting.
But in a new statement overnight, Kenney's company calls the allegations that it provided the live ammunition on the set untrue, saying the lawsuit filed by Gutierrez Reed is a thinly disguised effort to deflect blame and responsibility. Kenney spoke to ABC News last year.
It's not a possibility that they came from PDQ or from myself personally. When we send dummy rounds out, they get individually routed.
Yeah, I tell you, they're just going to deflect and deflect and deflect, no matter what the paper says.
Before filing their lawsuit, that Kenney did not supply the ammo used in the shooting. Authorities are trying to determine
it's open mic. You guys can
got into Alec Baldwin's gun when it went off.
If you want to talk about something,
type
it out.
Hutchins.
Someone put a live bullet in the gun.
We'll talk about anything. It don't matter.
To be on the property. Someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is.
Yeah, he's full of shit, huh?
Reed claims she
Race remarks 6 years ago. My God. Oh hell. Race remarks 6. Ah shit. People are typing. Ago. My God. Who are you talking to? Oh, I don't know why this my chat stopped popping up like it should be. That's ridiculous. Who are you talking to? I don't know why this my chat stopped popping up like it should be. That's ridiculous. Who are you talking to? I don't know why this my chat stopped popping up like it should be. That's ridiculous. Who are you talking to? I don't know why this no, now I'm all glitched. Alright, we got Biden yelling.
In between breath, take the shot.
Oh yeah.
You sound really good out there, kid.
What is going on?
In addition to your child, it strips you of your dignity, damn it.
Oh, damn it.
Can you imagine looking at your child?
All right.
And you know what they need.
Okay, I know what they need.
And not be able to do it?
I'd probably get off my fat, lazy ass and go do it.
They're really showing themselves to do really well. Come on, man.
Yeah. Good old Biden. What do we got here? Fast speech sound. Oh, here we go, Crumley's.
Some shocking details, evidence to come out from the prosecution today. We learned that Ethan Crumbley was apparently having hallucinations in the months leading up to the shooting, where he saw demons and ghosts in the Crumbley's home. He was also apparently obsessed with Nazi propaganda and actually had been continuously searching school shootings on his cell phone, to which the prosecutor, Karen McDonald, says his parents did nothing to remedy this disturbing behavior.
Calling the case of People versus Ethan Crumbley. This is case number 216611.
What's up, Tyler?
15-year-old Ethan Crumbley in court Friday on video from the Oakland County Jail, waiving his right to a preliminary exam.
Knowing that, is it still your desire to waive your right to a preliminary exam?
Yes. Never
now, Crumbley's attorney, Paulette Lofton, will argue his case in circuit court, where he'll be arraigned likely next week. Hours later, his parents in the same jail in court. Jennifer Crumbley at times shaking her head, laughing during testimony, using signs, even saying, "I love you," to her husband. Their attorneys tried to get bond reduced from $500,000 each, saying they never tried to run.
You know, I guess I just assumed that they didn't know, they didn't, you know what I mean?
Been made aware of a
without knowing the facts. I'm not a jury.
Their lives and to their safety, and had to leave their home.
But
the judge denied a bond reduction during the prosecution's argument that the couple is a flight risk, damning
if that kid had it in his mind that he was going to go kill somebody, you know what I mean? How do you stop it? Oh, you should. Yeah, of course. If you live your life in retrospect, forever.
Dollars into their own account, leaving him with a balance of 99 cents.
Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald says then, from one hotel to the next, ultimately landing at the Detroit art studio of friend Andre Sikora, asking him to get them vodka, orange juice, and socks. He allegedly provided a mattress too. Then the prosecution laid out Ethan's disturbing behavior months before the shooting that they say his parents ignored. Ethan told them about hallucinations, that there was a demon in their house.
The evidence will show that Ethan Crumbley was gravely troubled. He was fascinated with firearms. He was violent. He displayed terrifying tendencies and behaviors, and he literally sketched out what he planned to do in his journal and his drawings.
James and Jennifer Crumbley charged with 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter. Now, they did not waive their right to a preliminary exam. Their 2 attorneys will argue it out in court in February. Reporting live, Jessica Dupnack, Fox 2 News.
And Jessica, it's really disturbing just how much more evidence is coming out about what this suspect was doing on his phone, on the internet, what he was showing to his parents, yet nothing was done. I'm sure a lot of people at home right now are still just shaking their head.
And it really just keeps coming out in court. I mean, how many more warning signs is really what the prosecutor is pointing out today that the parents just apparently ignored.
What do you want to talk about, buddy?
Thank you for that report.
It's unfortunate about the Crumleys for sure. Let's see what's going on, Chiefs.
Let's go. Tonight, I'll be eating a hot dog with grilled onions and fries. T-H-A-H-A-H. Next. Let me get a fry. Sure.
Jesus.
Mahomes looks to throw it. Pump faking right side. He wants it. A comeback. And his comeback. Kelsey. Touchdown. Kansas City. One of the greatest playoff games in the
Anyway, the Chiefs and Bengals play today at 2 o'clock Central Time. Let's see what happens there. Obviously,
Saturday.
Chiefs are going to
Playoff
waltz.
Saturday. They got us underdogs. Big upset coming.
Let's see here. Here's the preview.
Sportsbet providing the odds for Championship Sunday, the early game, 3 p.m. Eastern, in Kansas City. The Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Chiefs.
Oh, shit.
The Chiefs opened as 6.5-point favorites. The line has since moved to 7 in favor of the Chiefs with an over-under of 54.5. Just like last week. The over-under last week actually moved
fucking
from
plane
54.5
just
to
died.
54. And for a while, it looked like it was going to be under, and then all of a sudden they score 100 points in the final 5 minutes of the game.
Goddamn.
77%
All right, bye.
spread money is on the Chiefs. Is the Chris Sims spread money on
whenever
the
he said,
Chiefs?
"You son of a
Well,
bitch,"
you're gonna have to wait for that for a
you
few
dumb
minutes.
son of a bitch. Yeah, here it is.
Meanwhile, here in Washington, US President Joe Biden was caught on a hot mic cursing a Fox News reporter at a White House event as journalists were ushered out of a meeting of the president's Economic Competition Council. A White House correspondent from Fox News shouted a question about inflation. The president responded sarcastically over the din of reporters without realizing that his microphone was still switched on.
Yeah, because he's fucking ancient.
Mr. President, could you give us a brief update on your call with European leaders on what's happening in Ukraine today?
The only reason I don't like doing this is you never report on why I've called a meeting. And this is really important. I had a very, very, very good meeting, total unanimity with all the European leaders. We'll talk about it later. Thank you. Thank you.
Why are you sending 8,500 troops to Ukraine? What do you think President Biden makes you guys? Do you think he places a political liability in Amendment?
Thank
Do you think he places a political liability in Amendment?
That's a great asset. More inflation. What a stupid son of a bitch.
That's what he says. He says, "What a stupid son of a bitch." That's the President of the United States, gentlemen.
When was the last time you did
Ladies
a
and
proper
gentlemen.
cleanse of your intestines? Maybe you do them often. Maybe you've never done one. But when most people hear the word cleanse, they envision
Oh, here
juicing
you go.
vegetables and
This guy
strange
here,
green concoctions.
Go
maybe
to
drinking the old school
ZooFood.com
lemon
and see
juice
how
and
much he's
cayenne pepper liquid.
charging for that horse
Thank
shit.
you, Brian, for being there.
What else we got going on? Peter, exclusive short stay. Who the fuck is this guy?
Hi, I'm Peter Dinklage, and I wanted to
Dinklage?
clarify my recent statements about Disney's upcoming Snow White remake. While I was delighted to hear that they would be casting an under...
Jesus. All right, Putin, what do you got, buddy?
Now for the last look. The world has known Russian President Putin to be a man who knows what he wants and knows how to get it.
Победа будет за нами!
He certainly is
No
not the
shit,
shy
that's
and
a leader,
retiring
though.
type. That's why earlier
That's what
this
America
week,
needs.
I was surprised to
Guy
see
that gets
this.
in there, you know?
Not once.
No bullshit.
Surely, time has come to change this.
It was Putin asking
he
very
never speaks
nicely and
English.
gently for the World Expo to be held in Russia in 2020, please.
But in all this time, Russia has not hosted the World Expo. Not once.
Having sat with him at close quarters, I
He's
was
all
stunned
about
by this
Russian
speaking. He
pride,
seemed so
you know.
soft and tame. Perhaps it was
Nothing really
because,
wrong with that.
uncharacteristically, he was speaking in English. Now, to be fair, at least he can speak English and quite well.
Unlike Biden.
Completely free of charge.
Very few American or British leaders can speak any language other than English.
Yeah, that's no
Remember
shit.
Newt Gingrich's bio...
What else do we got? Yeah, of course you're being Hans.
2 weeks away, 10 days in fact, from the Beijing Olympics getting underway. Growing concern for the safety of U.S. athletes who they will be competing in the capital of an authoritarian state. Noah Hoffman, two-time Olympic cross-country skier,
Yeah, my
joins us
son
from
just
Haley,
notified
Idaho
me that
today.
he's
Noah, thank you for your time and good morning to you. I saw a comment here that all the meetings, according to some of your friends who are athletes going to Beijing, have been about COVID and personal safety and nothing
What is
about
this?
sport.
Oh, of course.
What's that tell you?
You know, on this channel, we don't give a shit about COVID. Mocking her ancestry. What? Who gives a
The idea that immigrants come over here and they don't know anything and they're dragging us down, because we all come from immigrants, including you, Tommy Ladd. She talks about low skills. What exactly are her skills?
Her second great-grandmother had been here for 10 years, yet spoke no English. Oh my gosh. 1930 census says Tommy's 3 times great-grandmother had been here for 41 years and still spoke German. She didn't speak English either. She doesn't even know her own history. She certainly doesn't know this.
You gotta learn the language before you go to the country, or what? Yeah, these cop shootings.
What will you design today?
Stop, man.
A big idea? A new opportunity?
Even if
an inspiring
it's
community.
on their end.
With Canva, you can.
You know, like they gotta
start
stop
designing
doing
for
whatever the
free
hell they're
at
doing.
canva.com.
The breaking news out of Houston late today. 3 police officers shot and now hospitalized. The chaos erupting this afternoon. Surveillance showing the shootout unfolding in the middle of the street. Officers seen jumping from their vehicles, dodging gunfire and firing shots back. The search for the shooter, news on the manhunt coming in now, and the conditions of the wounded officers tonight. ABC's Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas leading us off with the news and these images coming in now from Houston.
Tonight, a suspect in custody after 3 Houston police officers were shot. The suspect initially on the run. In this surveillance video obtained by ABC station KTRK, a vehicle chased by police crashing into a curb. Police on his tail, sirens blaring. The door of the fleeing vehicle opens, and immediately the sound of gunfire. One officer runs for cover, another running into the street firing back. It's a shootout, and at some point the suspect flees the scene with officers in pursuit. The suspect carjacking another vehicle, making his way to a home where he has since barricaded himself, firing shots at officers. Several of the officers sustaining wounds.
One shot in the arm, one shot in the foot.
One officer down right here. We're gonna need to transport him.
Yeah, that's
They were
bad.
transported to a...
But you know, again, back to the Constitution. You know, I think the police department's unconstitutional, personally. The sheriff's department, however, I believe is constitutional because you can elect the leader, meaning the sheriff. The sheriff obviously has deputies. I think if we went back to, you know, more sheriffs, you know, sheriffs nowadays mainly used just for county jail. Very rare do you see a sheriff's patrol. I just think, you know, these ambushes. What else we got going on? Oh, Jesus, one day. Wow.
And right now, we're seeing dramatic new video from a shooting on I-95 that landed this driver behind bars. In that disturbing video, you can see the man behind the wheel pull out a gun and fire during morning rush hour. Local 10's Roy Ramos live now in North Miami with an update for us tonight. Roy?
Calvin, and remarkably, no one was injured in any of this. Nearly a dozen shots fired. It all happened right here on the lanes of I-95, and the driver who opened fire says he did so because he thought he was being shot at.
Hang on now, what did he say?
On the lanes of I-95, and the driver who opened fire says he did so because he thought he was being shot at.
He thought he was being shot at. Oh, hang on now.
He was being shot at.
What the fuck is in his hand? It gets loud, huh? What a idiot.
Chilling dash camera video obtained by talk show host Andy Slater showing the moments a road rage incident leads up to shots fired.
That's nuts.
You may remember when we first told you about the incident back in late June.
You know?
2 cars found. Chilling dash camera video obtained by talk show host Andy Slater showing the moments a road rage incident leads up to shots fired.
Wow.
You may remember when we first told you about the incident back in late June. 2 cars found riddled with bullets on the southbound lanes of I-95 near 135th Street.
Wow.
We've now learned the driver you are looking at is 30-year-old Eric Popper. Investigators with Florida Highway Patrol said he was driving his black Toyota Venza when he abruptly cut off another driver. That driver begins to tailgate him when he's then seen slamming on the brakes. Seconds later, state troopers say the driver pulls up to the passenger side and throws a water bottle at the vehicle when Popper quickly starts shooting right through his own. Surprisingly, there were no reported injuries.
I tell you, that's ridiculous. What else we got going on? 8 days ago, he spoke at his friend's funeral. Then his family learned. Wow.
We're OfferPad, and we want to buy your home.
People have
Just
nuts,
go to
you know?
OfferPad.com. Enter basic information, and the next
Problem solver Melissa Hippolyte has been investigating for years. Yesterday, a Richmond man was found guilty of causing a boating accident that killed one of his friends. Tonight, Melissa spoke with the victim's family about the verdict.
2 years ago, Rand Hooper agreed to plead guilty in exchange for 1 year behind bars, but a judge threw out that plea agreement, calling it inappropriate, and now Rand Hooper faces up to 15 years behind bars. When Graham McCormick's family asked Rand Hooper to speak at his funeral,
we never dreamed he was somehow involved in Graham's death.
For weeks after Graham's body was found floating in the water where Carter's Creek meets the Rappahannock River, Rand told investigators that he, Graham, and another man played cards and drank on the dock of his parents' river house, and then they all went to bed. When Rand woke up, Graham was nowhere to be found, and Rand speculated he had gone out on the dock to call his girlfriend and fallen into the water, or perhaps he had a panic attack and went to the emergency room. He even watched as Graham's mother used an oar to search the water by the dock for her son.
We thought Rand Hooper was a close family friend.
But 25 days after detectives recovered Graham's body, his family received some shocking news. Rand had just told detectives in the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office that he and Graham took a boat ride in the early morning hours of August 11th in 2017. Hooper said he could not remember who was driving the boat, but he remembered the boat hitting something hard, turning the boat's engine off, calling out for Graham, and when he didn't see or hear him, he figured his friend was a good swimmer and could make it to shore, got his bearings straight to the tide's end, and then remembered nothing after that.
They've never expressed any remorse or said they were sorry or anything. It's just such a sense of betrayal that my family feels.
The revelation came after Lancaster detectives discovered a Boston whaler boat at the Hooper home with a large amount of damage that matched damage on the bulkhead where they found Graham.
All right, Ukraine.
New propaganda video from Russia shows the arrival of missile systems in Belarus, the country on the northern border of Ukraine. Well, Ukraine is making a show of anti-tank weapons from the UK, all as President Biden is preparing to deploy U.S. troops to the region.
I'll be moving U.S. troops to Eastern Europe and the NATO countries in the near term.
But Ukraine's president told me he's not worried.
How are you preparing for what everyone is describing, except for the Ukrainian government, as an imminent attack?
How we should act?
He just says, America,
no panic.
Yeah, calm down. Stop causing this chaos.
The top American diplomat in Ukraine told me that despite appearances, Ukrainians are taking the situation seriously.
Ukrainian military and the Ukrainian people are ready for this.
And yet their official line still seems to be Russia.
Yeah, welcome to Open Mic.
Why is
If you got questions, whatever's on your mind, type it in the chat.
This is another Wednesday. Russia is always, trying to destabilize us. For the Ukrainians, this isn't something new, and I think that's why you see maybe a bit of, you don't see panic, you don't see people getting too concerned because they've lived with it for so long.
And there's a feeling among some here that Ukraine has become merely an observer to its own fate.
Do you feel like these countries are fighting over Ukraine rather than for Ukraine?
Thank you for this question. Even if these leaders agree about something, I'm sure that these agreements...
All right, I'm taking a break.
We buy so many things online.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, so why not tires?
This is the cheapest production world news ever. MLG Carol. Try this inspirational music out while I go take a piss.
shown horrors unimagined. I don't see the world the same way anymore. But the man upstairs, he is always there, with the weight of the whole damn world sitting on his plate. And if you don't watch your step, you just might make the same mistakes. Oh, don't you think you could find a smarter way? The road is dark and cold, and you may feel you're all alone. But that old man can lead you home. He's loved you even long before the moment you were born. And the man upstairs, he'll always be there. He's a part of you that cannot be erased. If the world you built flips upside down and you feel you can't escape, oh, he'll be right beside you all the way. Oh, every step of every single day.
I'm back. I'm at 16,000 feet. And there's... Alright, let's go get him. Alright, what else we got going on?
Well done.
Some weather.
Gravity is a force to be reckoned with.
Global warming.
But without it, you can't have lift. Thanks to gravity, the real force to be reckoned with just might be you.
The first nor'easter of 2022, making history. This morning, millions still reeling from plunging temperatures, fast snowfall, and fierce winds. Now the cleanup begins from Maryland to Maine. Massachusetts pounded all day and into the night Saturday. Gusts reaching up to 90 miles an hour in Cape Cod. In Boston, the blizzard so intense, crews struggle to stay ahead of the pileups.
We can't see anyone, can't see pedestrians, can't see people.
Powerful storm surges in coastal communities put whole neighborhoods underwater.
The streets officially flooded.
In Nantucket, residents use a canoe to get around as streets turn into rivers. In New York and Connecticut, winds topping 60 miles an hour. Snowfall totals reaching double digits in the region's first blizzard in years.
Whiteout, roads are awful, very, very slippery.
Up and down the Northeast coast, more than 100,000 customers lost power. The bomb cyclone grinding air travel to a halt. More than 3,500 cancellations. Nearly all flights grounded at New York area airports Saturday. And hundreds of flights canceled at Boston Logan International.
Flight was canceled for Cleveland. Can't get any until Sunday evening or Monday morning.
Cancellations plaguing major transportation hubs, from runways to railroads. But for January revelers, the winter weather isn't all bad.
I just really love the snow.
While hundreds of New Yorkers seize the day and the snow for an epic winter war in Washington Square Park.
And folks in the Northeast are the only ones shivering this morning. Portions of South Florida are waking up to lows in the 30s and 40s, and in those conditions, iguanas tend to slow down or become immobile. So there are alerts posted about iguanas
Yeah, iguanas falling from trees. Willie?
Wow. Almost biblical. Iguanas falling from the sky. Kathy Park in Boston. Kathy, thanks so much.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.
And as we're seeing the shoveling getting underway this morning, moving these snow piles, the good news is that Mother Nature isn't playing the same kind of games that we saw yesterday when we were trying to shovel, and next thing you know, it would just, the wind would spread the snow right back to where you picked it up from. So not seeing as much of that here this morning, at least in Sharon. Boston, meanwhile, also got its share, the second snowiest January storm on record for the city. That's where we find Paul Burton this morning. What's the scene like there, Paul? You said Boston essentially buried in snow as well, right?
Buried big time, Nick, in snow. It's cold, man. It is very cold here in South Boston. Last check, our photographer Rouse, it was 10 degrees, and it feels like 10 degrees. We're here on West 4th Street in South Boston. As you can see, most of the cars here still completely buried in snow.
Yeah, Boston got hit hard.
Been shoveled off.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow. I don't know what's worse, the kid or the mom.
A Columbus mother faces drug charges after deputies say she led them on a high-speed chase down I-85. Deputies tell Fox 5's Doug Evans the woman and her boyfriend had her children in the back seat throw bags of marijuana out of the car during the chase.
That's awesome.
Christina Roberts is only now being charged because the Columbus mother was ejected from the car and injured during the high-speed chase down I-85 back on December 10th. Here's Coweta County Sheriff's Office body cam video of that chase. Deputies say you can see traffic was heavy that day as her blue Dodge Nitro approached it. Coweta deputies were in hot pursuit and say before the traffic, Roberts was traveling at over 110 miles an hour in her attempt to get away. Once she reached the traffic, they say she became even more desperate and dangerous, almost causing numerous accidents. At one point, deputies say they saw bags of what was later determined to be marijuana thrown out of the car and onto the highway by Roberts' children in the back seat.
Anytime you're in a chase, it's dangerous for anyone. But when you have your own children in the back seat of the car throwing drugs out the window, it just adds an insane level of recklessness.
Deputies decided to perform a low-speed pit maneuver, saying their driving was putting hundreds of people at risk on the busy freeway. The video stops right after the Dodge hits the median wall. The video stops right after the Dodge hits the median wall. They say Roberts was ejected from the front driver's seat on impact. At the scene, deputies say they arrested Roberts' boyfriend, 31-year-old Deshaun Renfro of Box Springs. Christina Roberts was taken to Grady Hospital
What
and
name did I
arrested
just
released
say?
in January. Deputies said they found her children in the back seat of the car.
You can't make this up.
Attention to the map.
What do we got? Cincinnati. All right, what do we got going on, Cincinnati?
A local Bagels fan using his talents to pay tribute to some of his favorite players. Alexa Helwig shows us the projects created during this historic playoff run.
Jabari Lewis has an eye for creating art that's bold and memorable.
It was just something I just kind of picked up on when I was in school, and just as a hobby, just kind of me and my friends just hanging out.
The hunger for a more creative and inspiring career led Lewis to make it his full-time job. From murals around the city to custom work for families, there are always a few blank canvases around his OTR apartment.
I did not know what I was going to do with them. I almost had like artist block or something. And I was like, you know what? This is historic. They won their first playoff game. I've never seen that happen before. And I'm like, I have to do something.
His favorite current player, Jamar Chase, was up first.
So this one took probably about like maybe a couple days because I was just so excited. I wanted to get it done after they got that first playoff win.
After beating the Titans, Lewis knew it was time to paint the guy throwing Chase those touchdown passes.
These two individuals, they every time.
That's good shit, I guess. I'll kill your dogs. Mexican drug lord says. That guy there, Kent Rollins. It's a good old boy. Yeah, I guess we'll have to play him. You know, on this episode, it's just natural remedies and immune boosters.
Hey folks, in this week's episode, we are stepping back into Mother Nature, talking about some cures and some remedies, and let's boost that immunity system. You have come to the right place. We're going to share some coffee together. Hey, thank y'all for stopping by.